Adobe Illustrator CC is the industry standard design app that lets you capture your creative vision with shapes, color, effects, and typography. Work across desktop and mobile devices and quickly create beautiful designs that can go anywhere. Print, web and apps, video, animations, and more. Digital graphics fall into two primary categories: vector graphics and raster graphics. Raster-based graphics, such as a photograph, are groups of pixels aligned on a grid to form an image and have a fixed resolution. Raster images cannot be scaled up or down without quickly losing quality. Vector graphics are resolution independent. They're made of objects and paths that are defined mathematically, which means they can be scaled up or down in size without losing quality. While Illustrator can work with both of these types of graphics, its powerful tool set for creating and manipulating vector graphics is what makes it the go-to app for a wide range of uses. So what is Illustrator used for? Just look around you to see logos that brand corporations and products, which are used in all types of applications, from business cards to websites, billboards to bus wraps. You can also create photorealistic artwork, navigation icons on websites, packaging designs for general merchandise, maps both printed and digital, charts and infographics, posters, perhaps announcing a museum exhibit or music concert, and all manner of illustrative artwork, user interfaces on your computer and mobile devices. Even the clothes you wear, all of these and more are created with the help of Adobe Illustrator. Illustrator lets you create designs that are infinitely scalable for any size of screen or printed material. Go out and make something incredible.